Welcome to BART Podcasts. How are we feeling today?
Super excited.
We have team of Studio Tab with us present today for an insightful conversation. We want to, and let's tell them we want to know the journey of Studio Tab. Okay, so let's make the narrative fun. Tell us all that you know, all the anecdotes, everything. Okay, let's start with the most basic question. How was Studio Tab formed?
So we started in the year 10. It was just a simple start. It was just us as friends. And we just thought, ki, at least can try our hand at this. We had no stress upon us. We thought we can just step into the field, check it out. It was a simple, slow start with no such great plans in mind, but then we knew that we had to do something fresh.
Just taking it forward. So basically, when you are young, you don't have a lot of responsibilities on your head, and that is the time when you can experiment. Even if you fail, you have that time and the leverage to maybe try it second time, third time. So initial phases are really good, where you keep on trying at multiple levels, you keep on doing certain things, and obviously with your failure you're also learning a lot of things, which maybe in later life of your journey will be tough to do that. But initial phases, it's very simple. You just keep on experimenting, you keep basically shooting at every corners.
How did the partnership come along though? Like two of y'all, how did you all get together?
So it was just the same thing. See, two friends, and we started off. And it just seemed simple to start off, in a partnership way, I think.
5 years of friendship in architecture college, it just kept on continuing.
So there's a comfort in working and there's a rapport. Okay, fair enough. But at the same time, how did you, was there any time when, when the transition happens from friendship to work, how did it turn out to be initially?
It was not at all challenging, I think. It was the same way. So we knew our strengths, and it just sort of, stretched forward. So I think so far, it's been a journey of about 12 years plus. We are friends still.
So there now Richa's entry has of course happened later after Studio Tab was formed. How was your entry like? Because this is a friendship dynamic and years of trust and everything. What was your beginning like?
So, okay, I think it's been 4 years now that I've been a part of TAB, and the friendship and camaraderie has grown here as well. I mean, it's branched out and it's grown beautifully like a family. And I think it's been a great journey. So, I think there's a certain vibe that we have in the studio, which is so positive, which is so light, that everybody who enters feels the same energy. I think that helped big time. And yeah, it's been a great journey from there, starting off as an intern who is pretty much in her shell and an introvert, to now growing and yeah, seeing a total change of personality. It's been a great journey.
Have you enjoyed the growth so far? Because you said you started as an intern.
Yes. So I think it was a very swift ride for me here, because I started off with a spatial design project that snowballed into, let's say, like a residential project. After that kept on growing to retail, hospitality, and I've been fortunate to get that mixed bag and a lot of support. And yeah, I mean, the best part is when they're with you, they just leave it onto you. They won't be like, yeah, that helps.
Yeah, I'll have to agree with that. So, of course, not everybody knows that, but I briefly worked with Tab on a project, and the work environment is positive. And there's just, you don't feel like you're a junior or an intern. There's no hierarchical, everybody's opinion matters. As silly as it may be, okay, I don't want this blue and I want that blue or whatever, but we're still giving thought to it. So, to the point, because I've experienced it first hand, of course. Okay, that's lovely. Now, what was the initial work like? Now, this we know how the partnership started, right? What kind of work were we doing when we started out?
So, so basically, when you start off, you have to work everywhere. Like as we told you initially, you have to shoot in every direction. So whatever work was coming in, we were just trying to do as much possible over there, trying to learn a lot of things, even if it's a small project, big project. We were trying to learn from those things. Client experiences were completely new for us. Handling a contractor, what materials are available in the market, everything was a learning process. and all those things kept on just growing for us. Like obviously that there's a phase where you start learning a lot of things, it applicable for to certain level of projects. Obviously you have to keep on growing on that kind of a scale. So it's a process which is a never ending process for everyone, that I feel. You have to keep on growing eventually. You cannot be stagnant at one point of time.
So, am I right to say that when we start out, of course, it's on us, the scale is micro. Opportunities are bigger. Yeah, that's how every firm starts, or that's how any growth curve is always going to start. Now, when you are going from micro to macro, what is the transition like in Studio Tab's case? What is and how did it happen? What was the big jump?
It had just happened seamlessly, I would say. It was just a snowballing effect. So we started off small, truly, of course, and from there it was just a journey from a room to a home to a standalone home, and see to kind of hotels, a hospitality sector. It was just a just a snowballing transition. We didn't plan it, but it as in it didn't happen to us, and we were actually, I think, brave. We didn't uh, at a point was scared of the scale. We were actually, in fact, and so just in fact trying to chase the scale, I would say, and that happened for us. So yeah, I think
Yeah, that is how it is. Like it's not relevant to architecture, it's relevant to every field, everywhere. You cannot suddenly reach a point which is on a higher level. You have to start from a scale which is on a lower end. Then obviously with each learning, obviously you get that confidence, as well as you know a lot of things about that. So automatically it keeps on continuing that way.
so. Thing is actually upon the same point. We were brave to a point that, see, we didn't slot ourselves to a certain genre, to a certain city. We were absolutely, uh, fine to try our hand throughout India. From the day one itself, we have been traveling. We have had sites in the smallest of the small towns, and we were absolutely fine with it. Have traveled by train, by boat, by flight, by. So I'm saying, like, it was a fun journey for us. We were bold, I would say, and for us the growth then happened from there.
Yeah. So, do you think that this requires a person to be like thick-skinned to
Absolutely,
Rhino skinned, as they say.
you have to be that, because the thing is, it's a field that will scar you every single time. Otherwise, you have to be strong. You have to be a monk, and just actually hustle yourself in this field.
So after Richa came into picture, what do you think? How do these two complement each other?
So I think to begin with, there are two opposite personalities. You know, it's always said that opposites attract and also balance out each other. I think that's been pretty evident here. There's one person who's extremely meticulous, poised, calm, and he knows what he wants. Like, you know, he'll handle everything at the micro level. Everything is worked out on an Excel sheet. Here comes the other guy who takes chances, who is always on the run to be bold, to try something new, and to look at, make everything work all together in the whole spectrum of things. So I think there's that constant balance. If one person is handling the micro aspect of management, the other one will walk out to see the macro aspects. And yeah, I think that's work for them. There's somebody who is handling the financial aspect of the firm, the other one will look at the business angle, or expanding. So yeah, that's been, and I think their personalities also add to that.
Yeah.
Rajvi is on Excel
Yes,
sheet.
yes.
Dimple is like, chalo bhai, khatam karo tumhara Excel.
Both are same and they are together.
Okay, but then now y'all should add up. What does she bring that y'all don't have?
So the thing is, again, I feel it was not a planned, uh, you know, a planned action plan out here. We as friends were functioning in a certain way. We could see things till a certain point. She was able to add a certain uh, certain path that we were just probably blind about. No, no, at least, so the thing is, I would say on a fresher path. For, see, for example, to kind of actually to step out, to kind of showcase your works, to kind of speak about ourselves. We were absolutely shy about that. I think she was the one who had just what actually kind of driven us to how to actually do it. She was like, step out, speak about your work, showcase your work. In fact, which was not happening till then.
So we were happy with whatever publication, whatever things were happening generically. So we used to send it out, but then we never tried hard to put our face in the events or going outside, kind of doing a kind of a PR kind of a thing. She was the one who got that kind of a perspective, because obviously whatever the face of Studio Tab or the brand image is, that is also equally important. Doing good work, yes, it matters, but then people should know about it, how to do that. Yeah.
So, if I may say, she brought in the visibility for Studio Tab.
I would agree to this.
Right? Like,
Very much.
there was a lot of, because I will say this, we were discussing this the other day. Whereas architects, you are constantly selling your design, you're not selling your brand. There's a difference. You're selling, you are there to convince each and every client about, please check my portfolio. This is the good work that I do. Please give me work. At the same time, they should also feel that value towards the firm where, okay, why Studio Tab? As what is Studio Tab in general? So she brings in that visibility, if we are to summarize that in a way. Correct. I am sure this entry must be planned. This is a very organized approach to understanding that scaling is required. This is required. Can you address how do you identify that? Like, when did you identify that okay, like, my firm needs to be out there a bit more, and what we're doing maybe is not enough.
So actually, we were in the same rhythm of things, of projects happening, and then there was a certain vibe of stagnation that we felt within the studio with regard to the kind of work we were doing. So somewhere we felt that okay, this is how it's been always. We want to do something more exciting. What next? Is when we all sat together and we first thought of our vision. What is it that we all synergize towards as a firm, as a studio? What is it that we want for ourselves? What is the kind of work that we want to do? Are there particular areas that we want to target or at least venture into? And yeah, that's how we started talking about being a little more strategic. It's like you have work, you are sharing it with everyone, but yeah, okay, let's be a little more strategic about it. Probably that could help tap the correct avenues at the right time.
So here we're talking about acceleration. It was happening. It's not that it wasn't happening. It was, again, it was a generic thing. Whatever kept on happening, it was a process. It was happening. But then, as soon as the planning started coming to it, what we want to see ourselves in next 2 years, 5 years, is when that action plan came in. The acceleration started coming up. And that is, yes, that's more important as a company, as a brand overall.
So the thing is, actually, it was then we started to structure the kind of acceleration plan. Till then, it was entirely on its own, and thing is, actually, for us, it was like हो रहा है, चलो ठीक.
Wrong in that. matlab, obviously, there were a lot of things because it was two of us. We are trying to deal with so many things. Not okay, the office, the working, clients outside. There are so many things on your head. You don't get to plan those things which are outside your kind of your working zone.
So the thing is, actually, it's true, yeah. So for us, this whole journey, it was so very engaging to plan things, plan design, handle the site, handle the office, travels, etc. We did not have the space and the time to actually sit down and speak about this, and that was happening throughout. It was the time when she had entered, and she saw this with a along just with a fresh, along with a fresh set of eyes. Is the time we also felt it's true. So the thing is, so it was just was 3 years back. So we took a pause. We all sat down and we spoke about this. It was not even 3 years back. It was actually 2 years back
Closer to
actually.
2 years, yeah.
Identification is important. Once you identify it, you are aware about it, you acknowledge it, you can work towards that. Action is only possible when you can identify something. And sometimes you are so engrossed in your work that you tend to miss out on the fact that it needs to be noticed.
You're right, because it was exactly the same thing when happening to us. We were happy being in the office, kind of churning out the works, but to plan things, to kind of structure things, how we to have an kind of accelerated chart plan for a year, 2 years, etc. It was not in place.
So we always knew कि in back in our head कि it's needed, but we needed that kind of a fresh perspective where someone is telling you this needs to be done. Don't put it in a back burner. Let it like happen in process of. So Richa was the one who took that kind of a void over there. She filled that space, and she is now basically now taking the lead where we are now not taking that as a backseat kind of a space.
Lovely. So now Studio Tab is a bigger family. There are 3 of y'all, and it's lovely.
So how does Studio Tab does any competitive design pitch, or if you want to share some importance about it that you have experienced so far?
Okay.
So I think I'd like to begin with saying that pitches and knowing what's happening around you is something that you should always know. So research and development, to put it better, is an integral aspect of anybody's growth journey, not just architecture. So I think we do heavily endorse that. We are constantly looking out for what's happening around us. There is a constant effort into research and development. When I say that, it's not just about design, it's also about identifying what's happening around to see where we really can help place ourselves better and help solve a problem if there is any. So I think pitches also happen in a similar way for us, as we are on the look out for such things, and whenever something excites us, we feel that we fit in and we can offer our expertise to drive something better, we do pick that up. So yeah, we are very focused on choosing what we want to pitch to.
Correct.
So I think that is step one. After identifying that, when we are diving right into a pitch, we know that there are various factors. A is competition. Obviously, you'd be competing against a level of firms or designers. The second part is time management, because pitches have to be effective based
Correct,
on
yeah.
a certain bar of time. And I think that is an important part to deal with apart from the design aspect. So every time whenever we are entering into a new pitch, it's a clean slate. We need to know that, okay, if this is the genre of the pitch, you need to know who is working on that. That is step A for us internally to work that out. And yeah, when we enter the pitch, we try to understand the brief, we try to absorb the brief better, and we try not to restrict ourselves to mediums like probably sketching or drawing, so to say. We go completely rad with pitches.
Yeah.
Because I think that's our joy
It's
too.
how it's been for us.
Yeah, and we feel that you can really go crazy with your pitches, because otherwise when you're designing for a particular project, you have bounds and restrictions. When it's a pitch, it's more open ended.
So you have a high to kind of try out something new there.
Yeah.
So that's why we have done a film actually. We have
Yeah.
done a film, see, for a pitch once, and
Yeah, I think so. That was like the highlight of that pitch. So no doubt there was a lot of
hard, and we
It's
dived deep into it actually. We used to read a lot, have just stepped out extensively, spoken to a lot of stakeholders. We have stayed over in the office. We have not slept, but the thing is, it's been a great joy. She knows about it, in fact.
I do, I do. But when you say a pitch as different as making a film, that's very wild is the wrong word, but like it's so different. I've never.
So it didn't start with that idea, though we didn't know that we want to make a film. It just happened.
It just happened
because we just
organically.
thought
It was-
we weren't able to express ourselves
Correct.
through how you generally do in an architectural pitch. So we wanted to express ourselves through a new medium that could say a visual story more than us writing about it or speaking about it. It could just be visuals that could help us explain where that particular concept is.
So this movie we are talking about, it's a kind of a boutique hotel, and it's in Kochi. So Kochi has a very, very rich heritage. There's a very long history, background, and everything. And since it was a boutique hotel which is catering to that kind of a audience and people who know about that space, so it was a very research based thing, and how we are trying to implement that kind of a research design into our design. So just putting it on a presentation, just writing couple of sentences.
Point. I mean, it's not really fair. So he thought, he thought that, so we'll try to share the journey through a film, and we shot the film.
We even dubbed.
There was voiceovers in that. So yes, it was.
We
Yeah.
up for that actually.
So
We
in no time, we went from designers to filmmakers,
directors.
and yeah.
That's really insightful. That's what architects are. I
We are also doing the same thing. Architects to now hosting
Yeah.
a podcast, but I agree, I understand. I want to ask, how well was it perceived? A pitch as different as a film, how well was it perceived?
We
bagged
banged,
it.
I think, on that
Yeah.
front. Yeah.
And yeah, we won it. Of course, that was an emotional high, but we
Yeah.
had some great competitors. That was something that added to our high, because we know the worth of that pitch.
Yeah.
That there were so many good designers that we were competing against. It felt like a different kind of high because of that.
So that day we did enjoy ourselves some more. We did celebrate the whole team, in fact.
Yeah.
So it was a great satisfaction.
This is I don't know, just it's just bringing smile to my face, where I'm like, as different, like if you're making a film, this, who would have thought? Who was
Exactly.
thinking of these things? Lovely. That's really nice. Now, if I may ask, if you're comfortable answering that, every firm has a percentage of the kind of work that they do. Let's classify currently, we can classify works into architectural and interiors. What is the percentage, if you can just briefly tell me? Relatively, like right now we're doing 80% architecture, 20% interiors. What is it like?
The stat will always change, and we don't really stick to a fixed stat here. We choose our works upon the joy we see. I mean, the joy to plan the site work, to kind of design the kind of frame of time it will take, as in for it to translate out. So we don't really pick as per that actually about the genre of work. It is about the joy, the transactional part, of course, and the span of time it would take.
Since interiors are fast churning projects, they keep on rotating faster. Architecture takes a longer time, maybe 2 years plus kind of a thing. But no, I think so. No studio plans out, okay, I want to do 50% or 80%, 20%, something like that. That just whatever happens, it's generic thing. Yeah.
So you actually answered the next question that I was going to ask, but I was going to ask that, how do you strike a balance? Because as you mentioned, architecture takes longer, the duration is longer. When you are using, let's say from an entrepreneurial side of running a design firm, we are thinking about the amount of manpower we're going to put in a pitch. We're going to think about the amount of time we're going to put. Are we earning that much?
Exactly.
Is it monetarily giving us the satisfaction as well as creative? So that was where I was going, and if you can maybe detail that out, where how is TAB doing that?
So I think there's also a sense of balance, because there are a few projects which require your emotional involvement
Oh,
to
yes,
a certain
absolutely.
extent, whilst the others are pretty commercial and fast paced, and you don't need to invest your heart and soul into it. So that is also a balance apart from the financial angle. And I think we do try to create that balance also within our studio, because there are times, as designers, when you feel just exhausted emotionally after a project has ended, and probably to balance that out, you want something light for a while, that okay, you can take your mind off something and get your productivity.
And at no point are we saying that that does not require equal amount of mehnat or is not dedicated. Of course, it is equal, but it's just sometimes.
It's not an option.
It's not a choice, non-negotiable.
So that's just to clarify that it does not mean that you're not working hard towards it. It's a lighter concept. It's like watching a K3G after my name is Han or something.
Yeah.
Like that. Yeah.
So basically, I want to really ask this question, since you mentioned emotional involvement as well as the monetary involvement. Has there been any day where, say, if you're given a certain budget, has that affected your creativity as a firm, or even you? Has there been any resistance or a creative block because of the monetary part?
Yes and no. I feel there has to be a price set at the start itself. Because thing is, in case if we don't, a sky's a limit. It can just go. It can just drag on, and the thing is, the time we set a price to it, is the time when it can be translated to an actual space. In case if not, it is just in the air. It is just art. To kind of translate that art to a work, to a spatial, experience that can be touched, felt. That is architecture, and that needs a price add to it always.
Makes sense. So it does get you a creative block, but then you manage within those boundaries. If
Yeah, so basically, there's no price tag to an idea. There's an idea or there is a concept. Now, how to do the value engineering where your concept stays the same? You play around with materials, you play around with how you want to get that work done, is where the entire process of basically management comes into play. But the idea is never okay, this is a lesser budget, so the idea will not fit in. Idea is always basically it doesn't have any value. It is always a process where you do the value engineering and you how to translate that space.
Creativity is always a top priority.
Yes, always is. And especially see now this what's in schools of architecture. See, we don't have this in as a just as a strong subject. So it's why thing is you have all planned hotels and hospitals, etc. See, but then we don't know the kind of actual the as the actual translation cost to it. Is why we struggle.
Yeah.
So I think cost price is really important, I would say.
because as much as like just agreeing to what you're saying, to manage the cost, so I think that of course your idea is priceless. You start, the seed is idea, the amount of water and all that you put is your actually value engineering and adding a price to it, but we are not compromising on the idea. It's just how do you execute it in within the boundaries, smartly, efficiently and smartly.
So, do you think academically students should be trained about this? Which is also this, because this is very important factor while you're starting out.
Because let's address it, there is a gap, right? The gap is when you in colleges where we have a tracings
And we have
Yeah,
a
absolutely
and we have
fictional,
a
yeah.
dreamy
Then to-
fictional
yeah.
world.
and the first time that I was given to make a BOQ, good God, I've had the nightmare of my life, because I'm like, I had
We still do.
there are times that अच्छा ये running feet में होता है, as silly as it may sound,
Right,
that
true.
is the
It's a struggle.
It is, and when I'm in college, I am designing brick डालो, ये डालो, budget का किसी को पता नहीं है, but it does reflect eventually, and that is very important to keep your firm running. We know for a matter of fact, we've come to a point where we know creativity is the top priority for Studio Tab, right? Now, but if there is a project which is creatively, it is giving, it's like dal chawal for your soul. Satisfied, you are very happy to do that, but monetarily is not even taking you closer by half an inch of a step also to your goal, or some just moving forward. Would you still take that project?
Yes.
Yes, I think yes.
Because finally what you want to be happy is seeing your design coming to reality and all. Obviously monetary in terms of budgets or the fees, it's all secondary after a point of time. Obviously, as we said in the previous part, it's a kind of a balance between all the projects. So if certain project is coming where you are able to do a lot of creative designs, or the kind of wavelength what you have with your client, they are perfectly matching, so obviously we'll not let it go anytime. And then how to put it, so basically it is kind of value engineering later on, where you have those ideas and how to get it into reality is where the entire part where how to balance out the numbers or the materials, that comes into the play.
So basically, we don't look at a project in silo with numbers. So it's always the whole kitty that you look at. That okay, if you're able to churn out those numbers through other projects,
Correct.
you would want to feel happy about a certain project. That ठीक है यार, let's not let go of this. 4 और projects back करेंगे. We always say that to each other. We'll work harder to get more in our kitty, but let's not lose out on something like that.
And I also feel like sometimes these light-hearted projects also give you a nice creative break. When you're working across, your versatility actually increases. It adds on to your talent. Yeah.
Just to give an example, there was a small project. It was just a 2 BHK as compared to what other projects are there. Monetary, in terms of budget, it was less. But finally, the project ended up on AD. So we were happy with the entire, whatever the output and the design and the kind of rapport we have with the client and the ideas we were sharing. It was like we were experimenting a lot, obviously. So that is something quite important. It doesn't matter how big, how small
The
that
price
is, the
is
idea.
then secondary.
I will pick up that word that you've mentioned about value engineering, right? When we say value engineering, it's a lot to do with the costing, with the
And it is not part of the fees. Huh? Fees is something else. Value engineering is for the executing the
down. Yeah, how you're breaking it down, the amount of man hours you're putting, the amount of labor, material, etc., etc., 1,000 things of the factors that keep on adding. Do you think this should be taught in colleges?
Absolutely.
Which it is, I think, is a big gap right now. Like, realistically speaking.
I'd only brushed upon this term and seen it, in a very broader spectrum, but nobody actually got into
Really?
the details. Yeah, we did. Value engineering was a subject.
I skipped
your
that subject, I think. I don't know.
Me too. I called him 2 months back asking him how to charge for this project because it was an unconventional project. I don't know how to go ahead with that. Okay, there are just some 2-3 just normal terms that are available on in the market. अगर Instagram देख रहे सब लोग वो reel डाल रहे, different story.
In college, it's more material driven. You're not even diving into the costing aspect. You're only seeing sustainability wise that, okay, how do you value engineer a space to make it more sustainable, but not the costing aspect. That is definitely missed out.
And of course, I'm sure the schools are trying to encourage a dreamy process so that your mind is open to a creative, like it's running on the creative fuel. But we kind of miss out on the fact that with the concept being put in execution, that's not always going to work out. So there will be a cost to it when there's a thought. The art is of course priceless, but when you have to execute the same, it will come with a certain cost. Makes sense. Okay.
And so, how does this get, like, since Studio Tab is also working, as you mentioned, pan India, and now it's also taking over global projects? How does, how are things different there?
I think the most important and the clear factor is definition of a clear scope of work. In India, we are taught and we've embraced pretty much doing everything. An architect is a contractor, an architect is the one speaking to the clients, he's also a businessman, he's also a salesman, selling his own projects.
He's also a friend to the client.
Yeah.
Therapist, sister.
Whereas overseas, it's not the case. I mean, it's
very
very clear.
streamlined.
Yeah.
Your role is defined. Ki these are the works which
Your
needs
start
to
and
be
stop
done.
point is it.
And also they respect that.
They respect that.
Absolutely. Would you want to speak about the project that we just did based on the time factor?
So in
Stadium.
Spain, actually, it's a stadium in Spain. It was structured so well that even we were surprised. So the thing is, the whole scope of work, cost, and the fee, it was all spanned across a span of a week. So you start a week, how do you know your scope of work, and on Friday, so we have our sessions, the review, and it's over. In case if there are changes, it shall be chargeable. So, it just seemed dreamy for us then. But then it is how it is there.
And I think that brings accountability on both sides, the clients as
Yes,
well as
correct.
yours. So that is also a very important thing, which I feel we don't look at in a broader.
The boundaries are very clear.
Yeah.
So the stakeholders are just having the same share here. In case if you are just seeking a change, it shall be chargeable. Simple.
Yeah, it's so when you are saying this, it sounds so fair. But when we are doing that in India, I mean, in general, even in a market, even as a designer, especially with the way we've been trained and the mind has been wired, there comes a sense of guilt. Why now? It happens. But this just, as she mentioned, it gives a lot of accountability, gives a lot of responsibility, and there are times that we are hired for the expertise that we bring in with. So to have that sort of demand that respect, this is the charge that you.
And that's both ways actually.
100%. Okay. So we've spoken about the difference of the process in pan India global projects. Do you think a collaboration is a better start for a global project per se?
Absolutely, yeah. Because as we said in the initial pointers, it's like you have a very clear, defined scope of work, what you need to do. So there is this project which we did in India. That's a German brand for kitchen appliances, Gagnow. So basically, there were German architects who were basically collaborating with us. The clients were in the Singapore, and they had a smaller team in India. So there was this three countries basically coming together, but the project just went perfectly fine with like the output and everything was just on an international scale. The standards, the design was very much an Indian stand. Like the design process also happened based on to the Indian context and the technologies what has been happening over here. So obviously, when he had those multiple agencies coming over there and a very clear, defined scope of work, what one is going to look into that project, it works out better that way. What I feel.
So basically, it was such a big name. Gagnow has been there in the market. It's a very respected and reputed brand. And when it set foot in India, I mean, it didn't look like any other experience center as it would be,
Correct.
elsewhere globally. It had that Indian touch to it. So basically, maintaining the same standards, as he said, following all the guidelines, but adding our own sprinkle of design in a way that it resonates with the Indian context. So the engineering was as per, the size of the
The-
brick that these guys have worked around. But how we've used that brick is our creativity there. So yeah.
So yeah, so basically they had a certain level of standards of how the design or the colors, because obviously whenever we talk about a big international brand, they always have their checklist which needs to be followed in terms of sizes, colors, visual merchandising, everything. But obviously that small design aspect is where we came into picture. So we had that kind of a courtyard where obviously the Indian touch, where we used the entire flooring in bricks. The walls were cladded in bricks. Yes, the experience center, the Gagnow Experience Center, where a lot of bricks were used because it's an Indian material, which we wanted to have that context in the Indian kind of a showroom. And that's how it started off. The central part was treated as a kind of a courtyard where we had lights filtering through. So basically, we had those kind of cubes from where the light was filtering, which was giving a kind of courtyard feel. And the entire space was filled with bricks, the walls as well as the floors. So that is how it is.
It was a nice energy, I would say, there
Yeah.
from the Germans and us, and we worked absolutely well hand in hand on the project.
So it was the collaboration brings out a lot of it brings a lot of character, I feel. Because my intent of asking this was that when Tab is also scaling right now globally, I was actually looking up to ask the question where would you also collaborate? Would you? Yes, exactly. So, but this is also a good, fun way to understand that okay, the German company coming here is now collaborating and bringing a lot of character. Interesting.
So now Studio Tab is working pan India as well as globally, doing collaborations, which is very fun to know. How do you work on the visibility part of the studio?
Maybe around 8 years back, that time there were only few mediums where you can get the kind of a face out there. One was the magazines, obviously, which we were also getting published at that time. The other was maybe the website of yours own. We had an Instagram page, but that was only for memes, kind of.
Oh, please. That was more like a banter page and a meme exchange page. He's been forbidden to use Tab's ID.
For
He's
a very
finally
long
made
time.
one for himself now.
Finally,
So the ID was made very, very long back. There was Studio Tab page. There were few photos and all, but it wasn't there. So it is, I think so it is after that COVID kind of a thing where the social media completely changed. Like the face of how,
hyperactive
yeah.
it was after that, I
Yeah.
think.
And that is when the entire shift also happened. Initially, obviously right now also the publication is like, it gives a very like satisfying or a feel good factor. If you have a print media, you have a magazine which is in front of your desk where it has been published, it's a very kind of important steps.
As in, it feels joyful still.
Yeah.
But now, yes, the social media has gone way beyond, where your visibility is always seen on your Instagram or those other pages. In fact, we are getting the how few of the clients are coming through Instagram.
Basically, it's not just about showing like a few excerpts from what you're doing, it's also about churning business now. It's like people are using it as an active medium to churn out those leads, business from.
It's a marketplace.
Yeah.
It's a marketplace.
Because the minute you tell me, okay, this exists, I'm quickly gonna Instagram it and search it. That okay.
You'll verify it.
Yeah, exactly.
exactly.
It's a source of validation. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's any new client or anybody, not even just a referral person also is quickly going to whip out their phone, go on Instagram, okay, this is the kind of work that they're doing.
And it's not just the nature of work. They also want to know about the studio, about the architects or the designers. Like, you always want to attach a face to a particular company, and it just validates, it creates a presence before stepping into talk.
It's also more personal.
Yeah.
Helps you build a rapport, I feel. And it, now that you've mentioned, so I'm completely agree with that, but I'm just quickly going to ask you this question, where you just mentioned COVID. What was that time like? Because I believe you joined 4 years back, which is during the COVID time. What were the, I wouldn't say shortcomings because they're all learnings per se, but what was that time like? Just tell me what Studio Tab was like in that specific time.
It was a state of flux for us too. So we didn't know how shall it be from here around. It was, so the thing is, it was not that,
There was no panic as such. We had the works which were continuing, obviously, during the pandemic or the lockdown. The design process was still going on. In fact, we had 3 more projects which came during the pandemic where we were designing on those projects. Like, somewhat everyone knew that one day the pandemic will get over and there will be a time when it will start getting executed. And obviously, for every project, there is this few months which are needed to design, get onto the same page with the client. And I think so that space in between helped us in a way where we were doing more designs at that time, nothing else. It was purely ideation kind of a span for us.
Because as a studio, as much as I've observed, you all are very hands-on. There are multiple models and there are like your constant material exploration, multiple people coming in and out. When I am asking about COVID times, I'm asking, did the design process change for you all? Your approach towards taking, like designing a project or going ahead with it, something like that?
not really. We were still doing the same thing. So still the same sketches, same drawing, same 3Ds.
Just the medium of sharing change.
Or sharing changes,
Yeah.
I would say, yeah.
So this is nice where there was a distinguish between the end result and the process.
Emotionally, the first few days felt like a major void because we are so used to each other, like the
Speaking
entire
to each
studio.
other,
Yeah.
to having a little session of just showing the works, that just stops suddenly, in fact. So the thing is, it did take some time. So it was a transitional shift for us. But then I think it was fine. It was a time we had a time to breathe, I think, there.
Yeah.
Breathe, pause, and think things harder.
One thing we missed during that time was our lunch hours. Like, whoever is part of Studio Tab knows what is a lunch hour is.
God, I love the lunch hours. Yeah, I will one day only come to eat lunch and party.
It's not about the food at all. Yeah.
It is absolutely not about the.
Sure, it's everything rad.
It's just you are suddenly unleashed and you can talk and you can yap and it is just.
Apart from the fun angle, I do realize that lunch hour has helped us all shed so many layers that we can speak about anything. We're so much at ease because we've had hypothetical scenarios and whatever, controversial topics which you wouldn't otherwise talk about.
Yeah.
But that just helps you shed all those layers and be at ease with each other in every aspect.
Put on a spot. I was put on a spot. You were the one who put me in the spot. You don't be so innocent about it. He's given this one. There's another friend of mine who was working on this project. He's worked with Studio Tab before Omer. And he has told Omer pehle se that we'll ask now, right? Rajvi said now, we'll do this.
Raju was the target, like, okay, be ready.
I was full. I
today.
have not eaten that day. I have not eaten my lunch.
Skip
that
my lunch, I'm gonna go.
Because कैसे खाए इतना कुछ बोला है जो सबने इतना मुंह बिगाड़ा है कि ये guts this girl has. Go back to your loft and sit. Okay, then that's it's that environment helps.
Yes.
It helped me, which is why I was like that 1 month. Rahul sir was actually the one who we were dealing with for that specific project, and the kind of ideas we would come up with, and he is sitting haath sar pe rakh ke, but listening to every idea. He's like, nice, nice guys, but also giving us a direction to the thought.
Him doing that is a big thing. Otherwise, it's the other people who do that.
I'm just metaphorical about it. He's never done that, you know. It's just, he's been very supportive, I must say. We've spoken about social media, we've spoken about publicity, we've spoken about a lot of visibility, a lot of those factors. In today's, if we're kind of nearing the end of the episode, if I ask what is important for you all to scale your business, not just business, even creatively, when you pick up a niche, sometimes you are blocking your head. Then to scale creatively is also a task. So I'm asking scaling and growth creatively and monetarily as a business. If you can just tell us in 5 pointers, or just that this is important if you want to scale or grow.
Since we are in a creative business, so to say, it's okay. Firstly, we are not MBAs speaking about a certain business strategy here, but being specific to our brand and our story, I think we can summarize it in a way that you're obviously advancing creatively to, constantly grow and evolve, to
Correct.
give better designs and, do your best in your creative field. Apart from that, also there is a certain sense of organization that you need with aspects. So like how these guys started off, they were just two of them when they had to spearhead everything, where it's the creative side, it's also managing the site, the finances, and it's like a one man show when you start. Eventually when you start to grow, there are so many aspects that get added. So it's about project management. From suddenly, from designing, you're jumping into project management. You have to be more well planned and more hands on with
More
that.
hands-on, yeah, basically.
Yeah. From project management, it gets to financial management of the firm and planning for years ahead, and thinking that, okay, yeah, this is the kind of work you want to do, this is how you want to scale, these are the verticals you want to tap. So with that, these layers keep on adding. From project management, you suddenly dive into a zone where you have your operations running in the office. You start segregating and delegating, that if somebody is in charge of a particular thing, they handle it completely. That's how you can grow and evolve together, hand in hand, basically. And I think we've also been pretty open and adaptive,
Pretty
to
flexible in that way,
yeah.
in fact.
And I think technology has also helped a lot in that case. Like, you have so many project management softwares out there today. Earlier, you had to sit on those Excel sheets all by yourself. Now you have softwares doing that for you. So I think embracing that and, maximizing your output, channelizing your energy into things that need, your effort genuinely, is also a thing. I think we've also been very happy trying out things like the Oculus, for instance. Your
The VR part,
the
actually.
VR part of it.
So then
actually.
it's not just the 3D anymore for us.
Yeah. You
So
are into this
you are
space.
able to showcase the kind of entire space. So that helps the other person know the scale of the space itself. It's not just a nice snap in front of them anymore.
So it's like hand in hand, the creative and business angle, because you have certain financial goals. You are in a position to invest in such kind of things. Also, your research helps here, because you have your research going on, your financial part is being handled. All these things go hand in hand. So one thing leads to the other, and it's just the synergy that works, all in all.
That's a good point of adaptability with the current growth and technological
Change is always
Change is
constant,
constant.
here.
You have
See,
to
because
adapt.
if we don't change, we will stagnate at some point of time.
You have to keep experimenting new things. Without that, the growth is not going to happen. Like, obviously not everything is going to be successful, but then obviously you need to be getting out of that comfort zone where you are used to doing certain things. Obviously the number of projects are going to increase, the amount of time which you're going to spend in the office will be somewhat similar. So you have to get adapted to number of teams or getting more consultants, how to manage those consultants. It is very difficult sometimes. So you have to basically start experimenting new things, get into that kind of a space where you haven't been doing that in the past, and that is how the growth will happen eventually.
Be open to change, because even today, let's talk.
Don't fear change, I would say that.
Welcoming it with open arms, because we are also now tackling AI. We have a lot many things going on where the architectural profession, I feel, is going at a speed which is unimaginable.
Right here, Rajvi, the thing is, so I'll just cite an example. See, the time when we were in a school of architecture, a 3D software, it was just an option. We had to showcase the 3Ds by our hands, actually, see, by drawing them. That is now stopped. Now, the 3D software is not an option. Everyone, every fresher will know to operate that. So the change is happening. We have to somewhere just accept the change.
And also use it efficiently.
Correct. And because, for example, now when we were in college, we had the 3Ds, like
Yeah.
not an option, but as a compulsion or maybe mandatory way of producing our ideas and visions. But now it's like you put 4-5 sentences and it's just a prompt and the image is ready in front of you.
Because that, and I personally feel, I don't think that that's absolutely wrong until it's misused. Until, of course, you absolutely depend on that, then you're killing your own creativity.
Yeah.
And it's such a good medium when you have to go for presentations, because now you're able to translate your thoughts
It's
better.
also that you and I are interacting right now, and I want to explain you something. I just want to give you a visual idea, which is quick, so that comes in handy.
100%.
It's a tool.
It's a tool, yeah.
Exactly.
I think everything that we've spoken up till now is, of course, a tool that's adding fuel to the fire that creativity is today. So if you're talking about the softwares that you all have been using, we're talking about AI, the new methods that are starting, there's Meta, there's the whole wearing those 360 glass and they being actually experiencing the space and everything. The list is never ending and it will be always like that.
So, these things will always stay as your tool. Your key is your soul, is your just soul for an architectural field. You need to be genuine in there. See, if you're not, you have options for the blocks of 3Ds are there. The 3D is there everywhere. See, but some point it will stop. Some point they conduct genuine work and a quick pluck of a block is seen.
It won't stand the test of time. You'll know at some point.
The authenticity will be.
It's always identifiable easily.
Makes sense. Fair enough. It was fun, insightful. It was, the curve was up and down and we just got to learn a lot. No, so it's been great. If as a last, since the episode is almost coming to the end, we have a game to go ahead with. But before we end this whole serious conversation, any advice for the young architects? Young designers who are starting out on their own, to be precise.
Please stay as a monk. You need to stay strong in this field. A hustle, it's for real. It will not come easy, but it will come.
Great, lovely. So I think now let's thoda lighten up. Now I was like, अब बताओ क्या करना है? Now it's my time. Okay, we're back with our game. Not back, मतलब जो तो हम parties में खेलते हैं, but here let's go. Like we're gonna play Never Have I Ever. Never have I ever designed a secret room or hidden passage in a building.
We have.
He has inka. Okay. Never have I ever crashed a high-profile architectural event just for free drinks.
You have.
I've not. I don't drink.
Oh, it's okay. You can't speak about the stories from them.
Oh yeah, really?
Never have I ever used Legos to prototype a building concept.
Always.
I think so. All architects.
We all start with
Everyone
that.
does that. Yeah. That's the basic.
Jenga blocks.
Jenga is the best. Yeah, perfect. Never have I ever turned down a project because it wasn't edgy enough, like was too monotonous.
Not really. We haven't.
We have or not.
She has.
Yeah.
To each their own. Okay. Never have I ever won an architectural award without telling my mom about it first.
Without telling my mom about that.
Not. Okay, yeah. Sorry, I will not.
She sees it, kind of online, and she's like, "Acha, abhi ye bhi hua." I'm like, "Haan, mom."
This is a very interesting one, which I would like to know. Never have I ever attended an art gallery opening just to network with potential clients.
I have not, because I'm really shy about all these things. But she has.
I've not.
You have.
I've not done. I've gone there to appreciate art also
To start off with.
to start off with, and obviously.
Then of course you network.
Then
Richa.
you
Then
go
I'm
with the
there.
flow.
Then I'll talk no business. What to do? Of course.
Never have I ever completed a project ahead of its scheduled timeline or under budget.
Ahead of its timeline. You did.
Yeah, couple of times.
Have we?
Of course he has.
Achha, okay,
I have, no, for that, yeah.
Yeah. Experience center.
Accomplishment.
लो अभी तो तुम फोन भी नहीं कर पाओगे टाइमलाइन को लेके.
In your face.
In your face. The house also, you also.
Never have I ever used social media platforms to attract new clients.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have.
Blatantly.
Never have I ever incorporated elements of business strategy or marketing into any architectural practice.
Yeah, of course. Hence we are surviving. So we have two.
You
We
have,
have
to. Oh,
You have to.
We have to. Correct. Okay, nice.
Okay, last question. Never have I ever pitched design concept using hand-drawn sketches.
Yeah.
I haven't. I dare not. My sketches are Oh, sorry. My sketches are horrible. I can share a story here. The time I joined architecture school, my first drafting sheet was hung on the board saying how to not draft. So yeah, I haven't. I dare not either.
Reference on things not to be done.
And you know what? So for me, the scarring, it was because he was exemplary. He was immaculate. Like, you know, he had 5 pens. Like, you know, wo kya hai? Wo 3B, all that shit.
3B is a pencil.
The pencil, see? And the same pencil say it will turn blunt and I'm still drafting.
घिसे जाओ बस.
Say jao. But he got like crisp sheet and mine was smudged.
No, but yesterday only I did a sketch in front of a client for, like, there were ideas getting exchanged, so yeah, it happened. Yes.
Dimple is just like you. She's my junior, but I swear to God, sometimes I was like, इसको मारो कोई पत्थर से यार.
So I'll just tell you his didis na handmade
Models
murals.
ho there exam.
Again, see for me scarring. So my whole architecture school was scarring. He will make the half cuts, 3/4 cut, quarter cuts and all. My first model, I had no background of architecture. Yeah, so for me it was a house model starting architecture. As in I'm trying to stick, it's falling. Trying to stick, it's falling. So for me it was key should stand. So I just stapled it. And now I came to my class the other day and then it was hung again, how to not make models.
What not to do is equal to Rahul's as endless list, I feel.
But y'all are both crazy people. Her glue is also not seen. I'm like, how are you doing this?
I'm telling you, it's the same story running here. Like, you know, the opposites. Gun on my head right now.
Great, guys. It's been lovely.
Are you sure?
I am now. This time I am, I must say. It's been lovely. We've laughed a lot. We've had a great time. Let's meet up again 1000 times. Let's not do this again.